What's the dumbest thing someone has ever told you? It's dangerous to listen to your own heartbeat with a stethoscope. They said your heart will try to match what you heard, and that will in effect stop your heart. There was no explanation given when asked why medical personnel didn't have issues listening to patients with heartbeat irregularities. A woman I worked with when I was about 20 believed in spontaneous generation of life, gene ratio spontanea. Example, rats would come into existence within a pile of food and paper waste without the necessity of a mommy and daddy rat. Had a roommate that owed taxes 1 year, so he didn't file the return. He corrected his withholding, so he would get a refund the next year. Filed that return, 6 weeks later he gets a note from the IRS that he owed from the prior year, and they were using his refund to pay it, and he still owed them for interest and penalties. His reply: they can't do that. They can, and they did, and their next step was going to be to garnish his wages if he didn't reply. A girl told me she couldn't get a sunburn because there was too much wind. Same girl insisted she would become a doctor. I asked why she thought she couldn't tan or sunburn if there was a breeze with a clear sky and 100 degrees Fahrenheit weather. She explained that the wind would cause her to not sweat so she wouldn't tan. Went to a music festival with a couple of friends. One of the friends decided to take LSD. After the festival he wouldn't shut up about this girl he was in love with now. Didn't know her name, where she lived, and to boot she was there with a guy. He went home and told his wife of 7 years it was over. He said he had met his true love. The idiot didn't even talk to her. He saw her from across the way. Some people can't handle drugs in reality. By the way, they divorced 4 months later. We had a team lunch some years ago, and I ended up in a conversation with one of our account managers. A woman in her 30s who worked for a multi-million-pound company. She insisted that the sun was the same size/distance as the moon and stars were asteroids falling to Earth. This was long before the whole flat Earth idiocy kicked off, and to this day stands out as the most astoundingly ignorant thing I've ever heard. My college roommate was so bad we started a list. My favorite two are: peach is not a color, only a fruit. But orange is both, and Latinas come from Latin, as in the country Latin. When asked if he could show us where that was on a globe, he pointed to what was clearly marked Uzbekistan. I work in childcare. A parent got mad at me because I put their little boy in a pink diaper because they didn't pack extras. Despite several reminders, I was told I'm trying to turn their son gay because of the color of a diaper. Once had a co-worker acquaintance who was about to get married tell me he was already planning to cheat on his wife. Not that he already had someone lined up, but that he would find someone, just to cheat with. Why? Because 50% of spouses have affairs and that since it was him, it wouldn't be her. Edit. Yes, he was perfectly serious. I told him should he and his future wife both have affairs while my wife and I do not, then the statistic remains at 50%. Me thinks he just needed an excuse to have an affair. Once I was talking about the seasonal/weather difference between the US and Argentina with some coworkers, as I had traveled to Buenos Aires during our winter, but it was summertime there anyway. One of said coworkers asked, okay, so what month is it over there right now? So I paused, and then had to explain to them that although there's a seasonal difference, the calendar year/month still aligns with the rest of the world. Shortly after that, my other coworker who overheard this exchange and happened to be from New Zealand, just looked at me afterwards puzzled and said, wow, I really thought they were joking, it was a serious question. I once found a big bulldog in my backyard. I don't own a bulldog. He was a big friendly, but slow-witted guy. He looked healthy and had a collar, but no tags, so I knew he was a local. I made sure he had water, and went to the front yard to start knocking on doors. As soon as I stepped outside I saw the family 3 houses down all gathered in their front yard. So another case closed for our young detective. I walked over to them and said, you guys missing a bulldog? The mother looked at me and said, is his name Tyson? The question took me aback. I mean, he didn't have tags. They knew he didn't have tags. So all I could think to say was, he didn't say. But I'm pretty sure he's yours. To this day I wonder if that woman knew how dumb that question was. On a random Discord server someone was talking about travel, someone mentioned Finland, and a member says it's their favorite state. After numerous people pointing it out, and even asking what country they were referring to, user was adamant that Finland is a part of the United States. I had a roommate for about a month before we kicked him out. Dude was a severe alcoholic and addict, and beyond the unpredictable and violent behavior, he was without a doubt the dumbest man I have ever met. On one occasion during a storm he mentioned how crazy it is that lightning came from the ground. I was fascinated by his brain and asked him to tell me everything he knew about lightning. I learned that lightning is channeled from the ground through houses and shoots out of the chimney or an antenna into the sky. There was also no such thing as lightning before houses as it didn't have a way to escape the ground, On another occasion, I walked into the kitchen to see our sponge had been poorly cut in half in an attempt to separate the abrasive part from the rest. A steak knife beside it. I was instantly amused and asked him what had happened. He then mumbled out like Ozzy that he had fixed it. As always, I immediately wanted to know more. He told me with great struggle that he was at the store and saw the two parts of a sponge sold separately and wanted to fix ours. Heroic. He kept flour tortillas on a plate with no cover on top of our fridge. When he'd eat, he would place the rock-hard tortilla on a plate, put whatever on top, eat it all with his hands, and then throw away the tortilla. Every single time. When I asked him what was up with the tortilla, he told me it was a garnish. He also, much to my horror, would microwave oysters and eat garlic without peeling it. This was 7-ish years ago, and I still wonder about him from time to time. Playing cards against humanity with a group of friends. The judge is reading the cards everyone played and struggles with the pronunciation of one, saying something we think is along the lines of coccyx. We explain to him what your coccyx is and move to the next round. Next round starts and we start talking about who played the coccyx card since it seemed out of context, and everyone claims they don't remember playing it. We ask the judge to flip the cards from the previous round. The word was khakis. We were 20. Kinda the same concept. I was showing a co-worker some nighttime sky objects. I pointed to a bright object. Telling a North Dakota HS graduate that it was Jupiter, another planet. He asked, "Is that one of those things they sent up in the space shuttle?" Early 1980s. Ron, if you read this, I'm sorry for laughing at you. Follow-up. Later that night, when others teased him about this story, he replied, "Sorry folks, but I am not a geologist. I don't get off the farm much. I worked in a city that has a high military population. We gave military discounts if you could prove you were active duty. We had a family come in one day, dad, mom, adult son, who had never been before. The dad read the admission board and said, 'Oh hey, you can get a discount for admission,' to the son while handing him the sign. He read the sign and said, 'I swear to God, I'm not in the military, I'm in the army.' All I could think was, good Lord, they let you have guns." She cheated, but she wants to save the relationship and is trying really hard, so I think I owe it to her. Ended up getting cheated on 2 more times before he took my advice, and then ended up blaming me for being unhappy, not friends with him anymore. I was picking up an order from Salad Works a few months ago when I heard a worker say to another completely seriously, "Hey, you know the phrase bane of one's existence? Do you think that phrase was named after the Batman character? You know? Bane." My friend told me she could get into an Ivy League school without even applying, just for going to some special high school. This is impossible, and she still thinks she's automatically getting into that school as well as getting half off tuition. LOL. That it's not possible to get addicted to smoking and people only fake nicotine addiction. The person who said it had smoked a couple of cigarettes in their lifetime and didn't get addicted. And they strongly believe that only their experience/opinion is valid. Back in 2004, I said I was sure John Kerry would win the presidency. I said, the last election was so close. A lot of people who voted for GW hate the way he has governed, so they won't vote for him again. I can't imagine anyone who didn't vote for him changing his mind after these disastrous wars. My landlord, who was fixing the air conditioner, said, "You can't change presidents in the middle of a war." So yeah, we were both dumb. Engineer here. I was once sent to a factory to help them automate a piece of machinery. They had a giant hopper with a valve that fed material onto a conveyor belt, and that conveyor belt fed the material into the final machine. The owners of the factory needed to be able to control flow of material that went into the final machine, i.e., 10 pounds per minute, etc. My co-worker was 1000% convinced that the solution was to just drive the conveyor belt faster if you needed more material, and he was willing to die on that hill, no matter how many times I explained to him that the speed of the belt can never change the amount of material that's dropped onto it from the hopper, and that we needed to control the hopper's valve to put more material on the conveyor belt if more material was needed. It's been 10 years, and I still can't believe how stupid that coworker was. I had someone disagree with me that the seasons were different north to south hemisphere. She thought everyone had Christmas in wintertime and couldn't understand that it switched and New Zealand had Christmas in summertime. She knew that there was a time difference in a day versus night, but couldn't work out how or why the seasons were at different times. She honestly thought I was pulling her leg about it, trying to be funny. I had a woman claim that she was having a great time quitting smoking because she switched from cigarettes to cigarillos, which were 100% tobacco and therefore contain no nicotine. She said it was amazing how she didn't feel any withdrawal symptoms and should have tried it years ago. I have a friend, she is very cheerful and nice to be around, but sometimes she just drops a stupidity bomb out of the blue. Best bits: wait, isn't China part of the USA? Cats can't have a spine, they bend their back very weird. Wait, air has oxygen in it? There are lots more, but these ones came first on my mind. Mind you, we are 15 years old. Some people at my job were discussing what you were allowed to eat on Fridays during Lent. If you ain't religious, the rule is no meat on Fridays, and this one woman was arguing that you can eat chicken because it's not meat, it's poultry. At this same job I overheard another person say that vaccines cause Down syndrome. Yeah, not autism, which is still incorrect, but at least it's the myth people go with. This person thought it caused Down syndrome. And the real kicker is, we work at a medical testing laboratory. We literally do a prenatal test for Down syndrome. You can't just come down with Down syndrome later. A university graduate, who currently works in a technical job for a big company that is known for hiring smart people, asked me if the package I was sending him from Canada would get to him in the US, because he wasn't sure if Canada Post delivered internationally. Do cats like poop? I know that they have to expel waste, but does it come out like poop? This was a girl in pharmacy school at UCLA. How she missed out on cat poop her whole life, I'll never know. As a cat owner, I'm kind of jealous, actually. There's a park in Texas where there is fossilized dinosaur footprints in the bed of a river. Coworker was telling us he took his kids there over the weekend. Another coworker, very excited, asked if the prints were fresh. Me and the other coworker glanced at each other in genuine shock. An ex-work colleague said that they voted for Brexit as it would strengthen the UK's armed forces. And then couldn't explain how. And that seemed to be the only reason they had voted for Brexit. Not earth-shattering, but unusual, and baffled me. Someone tried to tell us last year that raw chicken doesn't go bad, and that once you cook it, all of the bacteria is gone and it's safe to eat. He said it might just smell or taste funny. At a cookout, where he made barbecue chicken that we just eaten. He said it was fresh, but still, my husband and I were both so grossed out. Also, yes, I know. I'm a biologist. I know that's not how it works. The look of horror on my face was so hard to hide. You can't be Irish because your hair's not red. Not all Irish have red hair. Also, I'm part Native American, that's why my hair's such a dark color. Nah. You're way too pale to have any Native American in you either. You're a big fat liar. He was 23 years old. I live in Alaska. Almost every single time I try to order something online with free shipping in the US, or even in the continental US, I'm hit with ridiculous shipping fees at checkout. I call their customer service, who tell me, oh yeah, international shipping costs extra. I'm not international. I am in the continental US. Just say Alaska and Hawaii don't get free shipping. But you're advertising on your website that I do get free shipping, and then telling me you're charging international shipping. Another one, I ordered something. It never arrived. I called customer service and they asked for my address. I told them, and the convo went dash, oh okay, I see the problem, you put Arkansas. You meant to type AL, no. AK is Alaska, no, that's Arkansas. Alaska is AL, no, that's Alabama. Alaska is AK. Arkansas is AR. I know my own address, no, you typed AK, that's Arkansas. I'll send another to 123 Main Street AL, as that's your address. I do not live in Alabama. If you send it there, you'll be out another item. Had a coworker that thought dinosaurs never existed. Not for religious reasons either. She just believed it was more likely that there's a vast conspiracy that all scientists are part of and no one breaks than them actually existing.